There are many causes that trigger World War I. These causes include the economic change, nationalism, the alliance system, the arms race, and imperialism. To begin with, there was a major change in economy in Europe due to the Industrial Revolution as the production of coal, iron, and steel increased. This increased the military supplies because iron and steel are the main source of these supplies. As the railways network improved, transportations of troops and supplies got easier. By 1910, Russia had the largest railway network, followed by Germany and Britain. This significant shift of economic power fueled economy competition and rivalry, while Russia was causing great concerns in Europe since they had the biggest output of steel and iron. Many countries believed that if war had to come, it was better to fight sooner rather than later before their enemy grew stronger. The propaganda on nationalism is being considered as another major cause. Most recent developments resulted from the Industrial Revolution were being presented as national pride. The sense of national superiority developed from Charles Darwin's idea about evolution, which is weaker species die out and stronger species live and triumph. This idea was promoted by the press and government extensively, and war was seen as an opportunity to assert dominance rather than to avoid it due to nationalism. The advertisements influenced the whole population of the nation that made people wanting to risk for war. This attitude toward conflicts and potential wars led to the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, which was being seen as the actual event that provoked the war. A couple of decades before the war, finding allies and standing sides against enemies was popular enough to create the alliance system. In 1978, Germany and Austria-Hungary formed a defensive military alliance called the Dual Alliance, which means that both countries would provide military support when one of their members attacked by one of the major European powers. In 1882, Triple Alliance was formed due to Italy's support on the Dual Alliance. Meanwhile, Russia was searching for allies to stand against Austria-Hungary. As a result, Franco-Russian Alliance was formed in 1894 due to their agreements on concerns of growing potential German threats. By 1904, France and Great Britain formed the Entente Cordiale. However, this was not just a defensive alliance. Their alliance included a series of agreements such as settling imperial rivalries, recognizing and agreeing to respect each other's colonies, and more. In 1907, Anglo-Russian Convention was created when Russia and Great Britain reached similar accord. The alliance between Russia, Great Britain, and France has made the Triple Entente possible in 1907. However, the war did not primarily motivated by the alliance agreements. For example, Austria-Hungary kept quiet even when the Entente Cordiale declared war on Germany. And Italy did not even enter the war even though everyone is declaring war on everyone else. Clearly, even though the alliance system had a lot of impact, many countries did not commit their signatories to military actions in many events. Militarism was one of the most influential causes of World War I, which the intensive arms race has occurred as the outcome of the advancing army. Around the early 20th century, military was steadily increasing their powers caused by economic and technological developments. All European armies were aiming for increasing troop numbers in the standing armies. Naval power was one of the particular arms race between Germany and Great Britain. Great Britain saw Germany's increasing power in the navy as a challenge to their dominance of the seas and threat to the security of their empire. For this reason, Great Britain sought to keep possession of supreme power in the naval army in 1906 and developed new class battleships called the HMS Dreadnoughts, which was regarded as the first kind of heavily armed battleships in history. In 1908, Germany also started to build dreadnoughts to be able to hold against Great Britain's developments, and this intention intensified the naval force race. Shortly before the war, Germany was actually losing the arms race in terms of keeping up with other rivalries. Therefore, they believed that the only way to win in this inevitable war is to strike in a preemptive plan. Among all of these reasons, imperialism can be identified as the biggest reasons of starting this war.
The idea of extending authorities and foreign reign of the nation or colonization was pursued eagerly by most powerful European countries because this way countries can gain possession in economy, potential military power, and prestige, and this led to generating rivalries between countries. France, Great Britain, and Germany were primarily, but not exclusively, focusing on gaining overseas colonies in Asia and in Africa. On the other hand, Russia and Austria-Hungary at the time wanted to extend empires into the Balkan regions, which had been dominated by the Ottoman Empire for a long period of time until the empire collapsed. This led to formation of smaller Balkan states, for example, Serbia and Bulgaria. This decline of Ottoman strength provided opportunities for rivalries to expand their reign. The Austro-Hungarians had an interest into the Balkan areas because it had already surrounded and had major influences in many areas in Central and Eastern Europe, so they wanted to take more of it. For example, Bosnia-Herzegovina had been under Austro-Hungarian control in 1908. Serbia's interest into the Balkan areas came from promotion of the idea that all Balkan Slavs would be united under Serbia's rule. For this purpose, they had an increase in military and ideas of pro-Russian and nationalistic ruling dynasty through military coup rise in 1903. Victory in the Balkan Wars of 1912 to 1913 gained enlargements in its territory. Austria-Hungary saw Serbia's action and their interest into the Balkan areas. They were trying to limit their chances. As a result, they hindered Serbia's economic development by blocking their access to the sea by creating Albania. They also promoted the idea that Serbia would be dealt sooner rather than later in Austria-Hungary. Therefore, Austria-Hungary's provocative final threat is the assassination. Russia's interest was partly because they promoted themselves as the defender of all Slavic people, as the most powerful of the Slav nation for a long time. However, a bigger part to it is that the benefits that they would gain, including the fact that it would provide important access for merchants and warships through the Black Sea into the Mediterranean, and it would limit territorial expansion of Austria-Hungary. Rivalries between Great Britain, Germany, and France were also quite intense. Kaiser Wilhelm II was adamant that Germany should be the strongest, and to possess economic strength and imperial policy is the way to achieve it. He formed new policy in which Germany should extend its influence through force. This threatened Great Britain and France. At last, the Moroccan crisis from 1905 to 1906 was the main conflict caused by imperialism that became the major cause of World War I. At first, French intended North Africa region, and they had Great Britain's support as part of the Entente Cordiale. France claimed more controls over Morocco and ignored German demands. Germany was irritated and they sent troops into Morocco and threatened to attack if France does not replace its foreign ministers and ignore this matter. With Great Britain's support, France did not comply. Not only that, the Entente Cordiale forced Germany to agree to allow France to gain control over Morocco and send troops into Morocco. Eventually, the Germans had to give up and they felt humiliated. This specific cause is the most important cause because imperialism associates with gaining power by creating colonies that would easily trigger a war due to several reasons. At first, when many countries are aiming for the same land, there will usually be an inevitable conflict because even when negotiation of splitting land worked and all the countries equally get a piece of land, unsatisfaction would always be a problem. Imperialism promoted an idea that starts a negative cycle that when you gain something valuable, you will always want more of that. Secondly, war cannot happen when people are not willing to fight for it, and imperialism influenced the whole nation's population. Of course, the sense of imperialism may came from nationalism at the beginning, but gradually it became imperialism, and people's will to risk for war is extremely dangerous, and it could easily generate rivalries. Lastly, because of the intention to gain more land, a country needs improvements in military economy and allies who support them, in which, as I discussed before, were the major causes of World War I. All of these reasons intertwined with each other to create the intensity between countries before the war. But imperialism was one cause that gradually but ultimately had a big impact on other causes of World War I.